Hello, everyone, and welcome into Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos right here on WLS AM 890. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. We got Illinois football coming up in just about an hour, but today we're talking some Chicago Bears football, and also we're going to preview Illinois at Penn State. So without further ado, let's get to this week's episode. The Chicago Bears are currently 1-2 as they prepare to take on the Los Angeles Rams at Soldier Field this Sunday. And there's a lot of blame to go around, and everyone's got their finger out, and everyone's trying to figure out what is going on with this team. Who's to blame? Who can we fire? Who can we throw off the train already? It's Chicago Bears football, and it's only September. What a great place to be. I'm going to walk us through a little bit of where the blame pie has been going this week, and then I'm going to settle on who I think is the biggest culprit right now, and the one that I'm probably going to be having in my crosshairs moving forward in the future. So the first person that we're going to start with, we're always going to start with the quarterback, and this is the guy that I'm not necessarily putting the most blame on the blame pie to, is let's just start with Caleb Williams through 3 games. Now, of course, yes, he threw for 363 yards last week, the 11th most in Chicago Bears history. What an achievement. Fantastic. He threw 54 times. I think we can all agree that a lot of those came in that second half when the Chicago Bears were down 21-9, trying to make it happen. You can call it garbage yards, you can call it whatever you want, but I that number is a little misleading to me. They also had that Hail Mary at the end of the half, which I think went for 42 yards that got tipped to DJ Moore's hands. That was 1 yard short of the end zone, a la Kevin White in 2018. So for Caleb Williams, the numbers were there. He threw his first 2 touchdowns in a Bears uniform. That was nice to see. He also threw 2 picks, and he also had a fumble. The turnovers are definitely a byproduct of being a rookie quarterback. That comes with part of the deal, Bears fans. And I know it's been a little while since we've had a rookie quarterback like Mitch Trubisky or Justin Fields, but again, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be errors. Again, a constant theme that I'm going to continuously hit on is, for me, Caleb Williams, the one part that I find to be on the disappointing side has been his accuracy, and most specifically his accuracy downfield. Now, we saw some good throws to Rome Odunze in this game versus the Colts. We saw some good outside the pocket throws, but again, there's something going on where there is either a discomfort level with what's happening on the offensive side of the ball, which we're going to get to our offensive coordinator in a moment, or there is a part of it too as well where Caleb is trying to throw everything 100 miles an hour, and he wants to be so specific, and he wants to be so perfect, and he doesn't want to make a mistake that it's leading to accuracy issues. The thing that I see on the deep ball specifically is that the one thing that Caleb Williams is not trying to do is underthrow the football. If anything, he's overthrowing the football, and in some cases overthrowing it by upwards of 10 yards. It's an issue that I think can be cleaned up. When we talk about accuracy, there are things and improvements that we've seen with quarterbacks in Chicago and through quarterbacks across the NFL, so I don't feel so bad about that. The one positive sign is that Caleb continues to seemingly process on the field at a rate and a progression rate that I think Chicago Bears should be optimistic and hopeful for moving forward. It's clear as day. Not to harken back to the quarterbacks of the past, but we did have a quarterback in town that honestly could only see one side of the field. We had another quarterback in town that currently plays for another team that does the exact same thing, where they won't even let him throw to the middle of the field. It's all sideline stuff. And the tendency to hold on to the ball too long, which Caleb also does at times, was a real problem for his maturation and his long-standing stay here in Chicago. So look, Caleb Williams has a lot to work on. This is not a mystery. This is not a revelation. He's in his 3rd start in the NFL. His 3rd start. If you want to put all the blame for why the Chicago Bears are 1-2 on a guy who's his 3rd start right now, have at it. It's almost like if a party went terribly wrong, your uncle got too drunk, your aunt accidentally burns the turkey, the house is on fire, the kid also vomits, and you want to blame the whole party on the child vomiting and not maybe some of the more of the adults that are supposed to be in charge of this football team, knock yourself out. I'm not going to do it. Are there criticisms of Caleb Williams? Absolutely. Is he where we want him to be? Absolutely not. But if we roll it back from week 1 to some of the things that we saw against the Colts in week 3, there has been some progress there. You might have to back up a little bit and look at it from a larger view of what we were seeing week 1 all the way through to week 3, but there have been progress points. The best part that I liked about Caleb Williams and his post-game presser was that he believes that the offense is starting to feel it a little bit. They're getting there. They're starting to get that feeling. And it's disjointed across the board. I'm going to run through every single unit on the offense and why it's a problem and why they deserve a part of the blame pie. Caleb is certainly one of them. He's got 4 interceptions and 1 fumble. I mean, that's part of life in the NFL as a rookie quarterback. But to say that it's just Caleb Williams, what else? What are you not watching? You know, would we be so much better with some of these other units that are on the on the team right now? I would say no. So moving on, let's go to another piece. Give me another slice of that blame pie because I'm hungry. Let's go to the running back position. For those of you that have tuned in over the summer to the show, I appreciate you coming back and supporting. I'm not a DeAndre Swift fan. I personally have never been a DeAndre Swift fan. One of my first writing jobs in sports came about 7 or 8 years ago. And along those lines and along that journey, I got the opportunity to cover the Detroit Lions when DeAndre Swift was drafted. And for the most part, I had to spend day after day writing these daily updates about DeAndre Swift questionable, soft tissue issue. DeAndre Swift, is he soft? DeAndre Swift, does the coaching staff believe that he has the vision to be a good running back? Does he have the want to, the hunger? On and on and on. And look, he was a young player at the time, and as I'm giving a free pass for some things about Caleb's game, I will give DeAndre Swift that same pass because he eventually moved on, matured, and had a good season with the Philadelphia Eagles. So good, in fact, that Ryan Poles thought it was a good idea to give him $24 million when we already had Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson on the team. So far, that is money ill spent by Ryan Poles. DeAndre Swift, look, he has an opportunity to become a productive player in the Bears offense. But if you're talking those cliched words of bell cow, look someplace else. It's been incredibly disappointing to this point. I find that the vision on some of the running lanes has definitely been lacking. The offense as a total from the rushing game is averaging only 3.0 yards per carry. And that was only bumped up thanks to some hard runs by Roschon Johnson last week. And this is a tough place that the Chicago Bears are already at in week 4. That, in my opinion, Roschon Johnson should get the majority of the carries in the Chicago Bears offense. And if you want to split them, I think it needs to be like 50-50. If you want to run the ball, let's say 25 to 30 times a game, in my opinion, Roschon Johnson should be getting 10 to 13 of those carries. Then if you want to do DeAndre Swift 10 to 13, Khalil Herbert 4 or 5, knock yourself out. But right now, the problem with some of the Chicago Bears offense is there is no north and south. It's all sideways. And unfortunately, we don't have the strength or the speed in the offensive line to pull out and protect. We're asking way too much from our wide receivers in a blocking scheme system. And DeAndre Swift, he has speed, but does he have the game-breaking speed to beat that edge every single time? I'm not seeing it. So part of what I liked last week at times from the Bears offense was giving the ball to Roschon Johnson and trying to get something going in between the tackles. Make those linebackers at least stay home to account for the second level of a running back possibly breaking through that first layer to the second level and getting those extra yards in between the tackles. Give yourself an opportunity with some guys on the outside. If you keep running stuff to the left and to the right and to the side, it does not open up things for your wide receivers to get open because you're already going to have the defense leaning there as a tendency. And DeAndre Swift, he can be a piece in this game. I think the Chicago Bears, unfortunately, a bit on the foolish side, thought in the offseason, well, if we get DeAndre Swift in space, if we get him in the screen game, He's a type of running back and a type of versatile player that we haven't had in the backfield in a long time. And I think right now, the problem with the Chicago Bears is square peg in a round hole is in the offseason. I think they almost overestimated maybe how long it was going to take for a rookie quarterback like Caleb Williams to progress and assimilate into the NFL, where they thought everything was going to be spread it out. We're going to be running the ball. We're going to be playing in space. We're going to be playing with speed. Maybe by the end of the season, we'll get an opportunity to say that. Maybe by next year, we'll get an opportunity to say that about this Bears offense. But right now, what they really needed to do was some meat and potatoes, protect the kid, run the ball north and south, put your will and intimidation upon the opponents from an offensive line perspective, and ask Caleb to make a few throws here and there. Do you understand and realize the Chicago Bears were in that game against the Indianapolis Colts, and we played poorly? And who was carrying us that whole game? Caleb Williams. That's not how it's supposed to be. He's not ready to carry us like that yet, as evidenced by the amount of points that we scored in the game. You have to find different ways to put points on the board, and our running game right now is abysmal. It is terrible. It's at the bottom of the NFL. We're averaging just over 70 rushing yards a game. After, keep in mind, we ran Luke Getsy out of town. He was running the football at a clip of 160, 180 a game. It's just a problem. Another part of the blame pie, and this one's been very popular this week, as is every tradition in Chicago. Like dyeing the river green, the offensive coordinator in town. Now look, did he call some awful play calls and some terrible moments? He did. I don't understand that fourth down play when you're running a speed option, which looks like he thought for half a second he had Justin Fields under center, because they actually tried to get the Colts to think and believe for 2 seconds that Caleb Williams was going to try and sneak it in from the shotgun on 4th and 1, and then they pitched it to DeAndre Swift. We've all seen the meme, and if you haven't, all you have to do is Google it. 4 of our offensive linemen are already on their butts on the field, and DeAndre Swift loses over 10 yards on a 4th and 1 play. It's not the play call that you want to use. Now, some of the things about Shane Waldron coming over from Seattle. Seattle fans did not like the way that he would scheme up the run game. And to this point, some of that stuff has creeped into this offense. I know everyone wants to fire the offensive coordinator right away. Here's what I will say. One, we have to try and give this a little bit more time. I'm not trying to give Shane Waldron a free pass here, but at the same time, let's see if over the next couple of games we can get a little bit more of a cohesive feeling, or maybe of what our identity is moving forward. I'm going to continue to criticize what I don't like. But again, snake eating its own head. We've made this decision with Shane Waldron. Coming into the offseason, he comes from the Sean McVay tree. A lot of people liked the move. We were optimistic about it heading forward. It has not gone well. He is brand new. There are tons of new pieces on this offense, including our center, including multiple wide receivers, including our quarterback, including our starting running back, including one of our starting tight ends in Gerald Everett. There's a lot of moving pieces here. It does not look great. They are not ready to roll. And to be honest with you, that kind of falls at the head of somebody else that I'm getting to in a second. But let's just try and tamp the brakes on fire Shane Waldron right now. The snake eating its own head conversation with our past quarterbacks is how many offensive coordinators are we going to give a young quarterback right out of the gate? We've done it since the tale as old as time. Jay Cutler, multiple offensive coordinators. Mitch Trubisky, switch coaches, multiple offensive coordinators. Matt Nagy's out. Bill Lazor's in, multiple offensive coordinators. Justin Fields, same story. Matt Nagy. It's just, We have to see how this plays out a little bit. And again, I'm sorry to say it, but I have been saying all summer long, we need to temper our expectations with Caleb Williams and by extension this team. I still think this can turn into a playoff unit. I do. I really, really do. Right now, it does not look very good. You have to remind yourself the season is very, very, very long. But at the same time with Shane Waldron, I just want to see a little bit more. Can we at least see what it looks like when Keenan Allen plays a full 4 quarters? Can we do that? Can we see a couple more weeks with Roschon Johnson more integrated into the offensive game plan now that he is healthy? Can we see if Caleb Williams takes a couple more steps, which he has every single week moving forward? It probably will not be perfect in year 1. A Hall of Fame quarterback named Kurt Warner says, no matter who you are, it typically takes 12 months for you to fully understand the nuances, the details, the underneath layers of an offense. We're in game 3. So, look, I want to fire on Shane Waldron. I'm not happy with him either, but fire Shane Waldron. I'm simply just not going to go there right now. I'm just not going to do it. Which brings us to our next one. The offensive line. You got a winning streak going. This is a real hitting streak. O-line, 3 weeks in a row. You've been on the hit list. And I've been saying it all summer. This unit is in total shambles right now. Man, oh man. Blame pie, get a size of the pie that would be worthy of an offensive lineman's appetite, right? This thing is brutal right now. Now, as of this taping right now, we'll see how it changes. But Darnell Wright is not practicing with a back injury. There are some very smart people with the words DR in front of their names on Twitter right now saying that the reason why maybe Darnell Wright hasn't had a good training camp is because maybe he's had a back issue since this summer. And he's just been trying to manage it, manage the pain, and go out there and play throughout it. Because the problem is sometimes, well, why don't you rest him, some would say. The problem with that is, with a back injury, that could either lead to surgery. You don't want that with a back injury. Or if you rehab it, you could be looking at missing a large chunk of the season. IR plus 8, 10 games possibly. So I think he's just trying to get through it. But let's be honest here. There aren't many guys in this line right now that really look like future pieces. I'm sorry. I did it a little bit last week. I'm going to do it again. Braxton Jones simply is not strong enough to man the left tackle position. It's great. Ryan Poles, you found him. What a gem. Maybe he's a swing tackle. Maybe he's a guy that comes off the bench. Maybe if you move him inside, maybe he gets a little bit more of some leverage and maybe he can use that to his advantage. But right now, left tackle, he just simply isn't strong enough. Moving on over, Tevin Jenkins, he's been fine. But, man, there's something wrong there, right, where he either doesn't have a teammate like a Braxton Jones next to him where they can tandem their strength together to really kind of grade the road the grade, if you will. But Tevin Jenkins, he's been fine, but, man, he's made his share of mistakes for sure. Coleman Shelton, another guy, simply isn't strong enough. And this is the problem with the Chicago Bears. And if you listen to last week's episode, when I talk about the Chicago Bears not prioritizing the offensive line, if you look at this group right now, this group is a finesse-style group. I think this is what the thought process was with Caleb Williams. We're going to have a nimble, finesse offensive line. We're going to have a nimble, maybe not super strong running back in DeAndre Swift. It's very anti-Chicago Bears football right now, and unfortunately it isn't working, and I think that's really leading into a lot of the frustration and a lot of the non-fun that us Chicago Bears are having right now. Coleman Shelton simply isn't strong enough. Multiple times a game, man, is he not only getting trucked, he's getting leveled, he's getting sent into another stratosphere. Another game, if you will. He's showing up in the Baltimore Ravens game thousands of miles away being like, how did I get here? Well, no, you just got hit so hard that you're traveling through space and time. Right guard, also a problem. Nate Davis, right? Just hasn't been good enough. Been replaced by Matt Pryor. I think Matt Pryor is probably the move going forward. Look, again, another guy who isn't strong enough. But I think he played technically sound enough where maybe you can get something out of him. I think he is going to have some problems along the road. I think it's just par for the course. He's not going to be perfect every single week. Otherwise, he'd be a starting caliber guard in the NFL. He's not. He's a backup option. But I think he's maybe a better shot than what we were getting out of Nate Davis. Because Nate Davis continues to look clueless. And it's sad. And it's poor money spent. And it's a bummer. And it harkens back to something that I will reiterate on this show once more, is that I love Ryan Poles' draft picks. I think he's great at identifying talent in the draft. His free agent picks, though, have not been great. They just haven't. Tremaine Edmonds, he's been solid, right? Montez Sweat, the trade doesn't count because that's via trade. When he goes out to the free agent market and brings guys in, I just haven't been impressed. And it's almost, he's been trying to find talent that's below the radar on the market, but paying them a little bit extra instead of just paying the premium for a known commodity. It's been rough. And we mentioned Darnell Wright. A lot of blame pie, but who gets the biggest slice on this one? Who gets the biggest slice? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's the head coach. We're going to take a break here in a second, and I'm going to walk you through my vibes currently on Matt Eberflus. But just to round all this up, we want to point our fingers at the players as they should. They need to execute, right? There's been penalty problems. There's been inaccuracies from the quarterback. We have seen at times some drops. We've seen some bad vision from the running backs. We've seen offensive linemen get get manhandled at the line of scrimmage. We've seen an offensive coordinator put together some real head-scratching plays in some pivotal moments. And that's a lot of stuff that we don't like. But at the end of the day, this all goes back to the head coach. At some point, we need to start looking at this guy again already. This was a guy, Matt Eberflus, who I wanted to get fired last year. We all remember the losing streak. I was highly critical of him. I wasn't on this channel. You can go back and find it if you want to. I promise you. Was not a big fan. And somehow throughout this offseason, this dude got some sort of free pass because he got a haircut and grew a beard. And everything seemed to be trending in the right direction. And now we're splitting up a blame pie at a 1-2 start in September again. And I understand that a lot of the things that I've already talked about are definitely huge components of why we are frustrated as we are right now with the Chicago Bears. The season is still early. But at the end of the day, the buck stops here, right? The results have to go back to the head coach. Coming back here on Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos here on WLS AM 890. Thank you so much for tuning in here on a Saturday. We got Illini football coming up in just a little bit, but we're talking Chicago Bears football. The first segment was on the blame pie. A lot of fingers being pointed in a lot of different directions this past week after a disappointing loss to the Indianapolis Colts. And it isn't so much that we've been in the game in the fourth quarter. It's more the fact that this just hasn't been very fun. It doesn't look smooth. It doesn't look super promising. And the Chicago Bears have struggled. And I, as much as I want to point one big finger at the offensive line, the running back ineffectiveness, the offensive coordinator slow start, maybe even the young quarterback in his first 3 NFL starts, this all has to come back to Matt Eberflus. And you really have to start asking yourself a question. And I'm going to ask it specifically like this. Is Matt Eberflus a good head coach? Is he a good head coach? I'm going to start by saying I think Matt Eberflus is a good defensive coordinator. We have seen it. When he took over play calling duties last year, the defense, the turnover margin went way up. Montez Sweat comes in. The sacks go up too as well. He starts blitzing a little bit more. We finish 5-3. The arrow seems to be pointing up. But is Matt Eberflus a good head coach? As a head coach right now, he's currently 11-26. Those are facts. Those are numbers. Those are results. They still mean something. You can try and blame the first year of the tank all you want to. Still blew a bunch of 10-point leads last year. There could have been victories. And to this point, he's 1-2. This is literally where we were practically last year. We started the year 0-3. Played Denver, played well for a half, blew it again, finished 0-4. We're at 1-2 right now with a brand new quarterback, brand new offensive coordinator, a boatload of optimism, and we could easily be 0-3 in this game. We were down 17-3 with Tennessee, and our offense wasn't going to do anything in that game. Thankfully, the defense bailed us out. And thankfully also, Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans bailed out. Shout out to him. But when you're talking about Matt Eberflus, what is with the slow starts? Why are we slow to the switch? I mean, you're seeing articles across the NFL this week about how quarterback play is down, offense is down, general play is down. But also, if you look across the NFL, there are a lot of solid head coaches that seem to be doing just fine through all of this. Namely, a guy like a guy like Mike Tomlin, for example, doesn't seem to be bothered by this, just continues to win. And I just got to ask myself, Matt Eberflus, is he a good head coach? We applaud him when his defense makes adjustments at halftime, but why did they take so long for him to pivot to that? Why does he refuse to blitz until it's absolutely necessary, until there are 14, 17 points on the board before they decide to button it up? Why is he 2 for 7 on challenges throughout his career? I mean, look, here's the thing. You got to ask yourself, what do you want out of a head coach, right? And I made a little list here of just some basic things that you want out of your head coach. And let's just see if Matt Eberflus checks any of these boxes. Let's see. The one that I had here is have your players ready to play. No. Matt Eberflus is a no on that. And look, we applauded them for playing them in the preseason, and still yet they came out flat and not ready to go. 0-3 last year, 1-2 this year. Are your players ready to play? No. Does your head coach provide a schematic advantage over your opponent? I think this answer, I'm going to go mixed at best. There are some moments, again, on the defensive side of the ball, the way that he can dial up a blitz from time to time, the way he's instilled the philosophy of the cover 2 shell. It has given the Chicago Bears an above-average defense. Some people think it's top 5. Personally, I'm not really going to go there. I'm going to say probably it's closer to top 10. We'll see what happens. Prove me wrong. But I'm not seeing something where it's like, man, oh man, Matt Eberflus really pulled the wool over the eyes of the opposing coach on that one. We're not really saying that one. Next one, run a clean in-game operation, no unforced errors. That is a hardcore no for Matt Eberflus. Burning timeouts. Like they're pieces of newspaper trying to get a fire burning in the backyard. Unbelievable. These things are treasure pieces in the second half. If he hasn't figured out at this point that the Chicago Bears of the last 2 years have been in enough close one-score games that you need every single timeout that you possibly can and should not be burning them at 5.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, or burning them after the team scores a touchdown, and we can litigate whether maybe the quarterback celebrated too much, maybe the coaching staff put up a number 1 finger and didn't know the score in the game. You needed a 2-point conversion. The in-game operation just simply isn't there. I mean, in my opinion, everyone's saying, the 2-point conversion, then you burn a timeout. I think it was double bad. Where let's just say for a second, they screwed up the score in the game. A couple of coaches put up the number 1 finger. They got the wrong personnel on the field. They had to switch it out. Don't call a timeout there. Just take the delay a game. Take the delay a game, live with your mistake, back it up a little bit, and then try for the 2-point conversion. Do not burn a timeout there. You needed that. You were losing in the game. You needed stoppage of time. At some point in a football game, when you're losing by a certain amount of points and you have a certain amount of time left, it all becomes math. It has nothing to do with any other play call in the world. It literally has everything to do with math and the play clock that you have and how many plays you're able to run to finish the game. So what? You screwed up after they scored a touchdown and you didn't immediately send them out there for a 2-point conversion. Fine. Do not burn the timeout. At least take the delay of game, back yourself up, and give yourself a shot at the 2-point conversion, and you still have one of those timeouts. It's unbelievable. So running clean in-game operation, that's a hardcore no from me. Does your head coach help you win? No. 11-26 record. Does your head coach make the playoffs? No. Haven't done it yet. Does the locker room have a general buy-in towards your head coach? The answer is yes. Okay, great. He's a good dude. He's a good person. It just seems in his post-game press conferences, it seems like he's gotten a little bit more of a handle on how to speak the game to the press, to the fans. Good for him. But the bottom line is, look around the NFC North, just that division right now. And Matt Eberflus is at the bottom of the barrel of head coaches in the division right now. If you go to Minnesota, they lose J.J. McCarthy for the season. Oh, Sam Darnold. Oh, man, they're going to be up the track. Kevin O'Connell has them playing inspired football right now. And you know what? He's dialing it up in his expertise. He's dialing it up and making it happen for Sam Darnold in that offense right now. Jordan Love gets hurt week 1. Oh, man, up the track. See you later, Green Bay. No, Matt LaFleur says no. He trades for Malik Willis, a guy that the Tennessee Titans didn't even want. They traded him for a 6th-round pick. They're going out there. Malik Willis isn't throwing the football. They're running it down people's throats, and they're winning football games. And then, look, I think Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, they've been a little up and down, but I think we all can agree his passion and his buy-in factor that he's got with his players, his aggressive nature, Dan Campbell is by far ahead of Matt Eberflus. That team knows its identity. We're going for it on 4th down because I believe in you. What is the Matt Eberflus identity? Defense? The hits philosophy? I mean, let's be honest here. Has there ever been one game in Matt Eberflus's tenure that makes you say, man, did he really outdo the coaching staff in that one? I don't know, maybe the Patriots game 2 years ago? Maybe, possibly. Haven't had a lot of laughers in the Matt Eberflus era. And just when you look at the fundamentals, you got to ask yourself, is Matt Eberflus a good head coach? And right now, in this moment, week 3 in September, the answer to that is unequivocally no. Can he change that feeling, that determination, that opinion of mine right now? Of course he can. He did it to some people last year because he went 5-3 down the stretch, and all of a sudden he walked into this year and it seemed like he's going to be around for the next 10 years. I mean, I think Matt Eberflus needs to be on the hot seat. This is a results business now. This isn't a rebuild. This isn't a let's get him some run, let's see what happens. I mean, this team is pretty much ready to go. And we need the head coach to get this team through this stretch right now while their young quarterback, their rookie quarterback in his 3rd NFL start, learns the ropes a little bit. This can't be all about Caleb. It certainly can't be all about Shane Waldron either. At some point, this has to come back to the head coach. That's just how it works in the NFL. And ask yourself this weekend, is Matt Eberflus a good head coach? Keep that in mind because, man, I'm going to have a magnifying glass on him the rest of the way. Speaking of, let's move on over. Let's get our keys to a Chicago Bears win against the Los Angeles Rams this weekend. Los Angeles Rams, huge comeback against the San Francisco 49ers last week. And look, I know a lot of people are saying they're down Puka Nacua, they're down Cooper Kupp. Chicago Bears should have a pretty easy ride. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a tough game. My first key to a Chicago Bears win, I'm going to call it first half to the whole. Both of these teams right now, through 3 weeks, smaller sample size, I get it. But the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears are at the bottom of the NFL in first half scoring right now. Both of them are averaging just under 5 points a half in the first half. So I think a big key to this one, especially after what we're coming after last week, we're at home. Looks like it's going to be a nice day outside. Can the Chicago Bears get off to a fast start, please? Can they get the crowd into it? Can we put a team for once on its heels? It's crazy. We've played 180 minutes of football. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, the Chicago Bears have been leading for 7 minutes and 52 seconds out of a possible 180 minutes. Can we get a lead? I think that's going to be huge. I don't even care if it's 3-0. Give me something. Give me something where the crowd can at least get into it so that when we're on defense against offense, we got a little bit of a noise going. We got a little bit of a vibe. We're starting to feel a little bit more confident about ourselves because, man, confidence has been hard to find with the Chicago Bears team right now. Another big key to the game, both these running games kind of stink. No Nakua, no Cooper Kupp. The Rams have had trouble running the football, and we all know the Chicago Bears have had trouble running the football. So my big key to the game is we have to get home on Matt Stafford. We've been doing good. Bend but don't break. We've gotten a couple of turnovers here and there. It's been nice from the defensive side of the ball, and we've done a good job of stopping the run. Kudos to the defensive line on that, but now it's time to start hitting the quarterback a little bit. Matthew Stafford has a Super Bowl ring. We've seen Matthew Stafford before. We've seen Matthew Stafford on some bad Lions teams. And if you give him time to throw back there and just sit and figure it out, he is going to pick you apart. I don't care who his wide receivers are. I don't care if it's Tutu Atwell. We have to get out there. We got to rattle the guy a little bit. He's in his mid to late 30s. A lot of people want to have that argument about is he a fringe Hall of Famer. If you let him just sit back there and pick it apart, we're going to have a hard time on defense. We have to hit the quarterback. First one, strong first half. Second key to the game, you got to hit Matt Stafford. You got to get him uncomfortable. Is the offense ready to go in this one? That's my third key. We're making progress. Now can we get what Caleb Williams calls the feel? Can we get the results? As of right now of this taping, Keenan Allen is trending towards playing. That's good news for everybody. The Rams, again, not a great defense. Hasn't been good. They allow 177 rushing yards a game. That's 30th in the NFL right now. They allow 248 passing yards a game. That's 29th in the NFL. Put all that together, they're giving up the most yards in the NFL this year. On top of it, they're not really sacking the quarterback either. They're only averaging 1.3 sacks a game. That's 28th in the NFL. So Caleb, our offensive line is terrible. But come on, this is a really good matchup to maybe get some sort of unifying confidence together as a Chicago Bears team as a whole. I'm not saying we're going to run it down our throats because we said that last week about the Indianapolis Colts and it didn't happen, but I just want to see production from the offensive side of the ball. I want to see Caleb with a couple more clean pockets than normal. Come on, Colton Shelton. This is your revenge game, man. You used to be on the Rams last year. Show us something. Give something that Caleb can step up and throw into. Give him some confidence, and maybe that will help with the accuracy a little bit. You get a couple of throws going. That's what you saw last week, is that when Caleb finally hooked up with Rome on a couple of those throws, as a young quarterback, I would if I want to be in his shoes for a second, I just want to complete a couple of throws to know that the progression, the thought process, everything that I did to execute that throw worked, and then replicate and repeat over and over and over again. Caleb got an opportunity to complete a bunch of different kinds of throws against the Colts. Let's take that to the next step. Against this Rams team, it's definitely going to be possible. Some other news and notes to just keep an eye on here. On third down, both the Rams, the Bears, not very good. About the 34-35% marker right now. Rams are 22nd in the NFL in third down conversion rate. The Chicago Bears are 23rd in third down conversion rate. So you will have an opportunity to get the ball back. The red zone attempts right now. Here's what's interesting about it. The Rams actually are second in the NFL in red zone attempts at 4.3. Averaging only 19 points a game, though. The Bears in the red zone attempts, dead last in the NFL, only 1.7. Is that the rubber that meets the road a little bit on this game? Can we keep the Rams to field goals? Can the Chicago Bears actually get into the red zone to be able to put up points? And that's going to be the key. If we can't rattle Matt Stafford and get to him a little bit, and he can make those throws and just slowly but surely march the ball down the field. I mean, you can beat the Chicago Bears right now with field goals. I'm telling you that much right now. So that's going to be a huge one. My game prediction right now, man, oh man, oh man. I tell you, last week, I gave the Chicago Bears the benefit of the doubt. There was a part of me that wanted to say they were going to lose that game. It's not revisionist history. I'm not looking for points in the back end. But I wanted to give the Chicago Bears the benefit of the doubt. And I'll be honest, I'm going to do it one more time. The Chicago Bears are at home. You are playing the Los Angeles Rams at a good time right now. Sean McVay is a light years better head coach than Matt Eberflus. I will tell you that. That could be a factor in this game. But I am going to say the Chicago Bears are going to beat the Los Angeles Rams 20-17 in this game. I still think it's going to be ugly out there. There's a lot of things that the Chicago Bears need to shore up. There's a lot of things that I think Sean McVay is going to throw at this Bears defense that might have us on our heels at times. I will tell you this, though. There's always the thing that I feel and I decide upon, and then there's always the background, the real negative one, the one that really, really, really scares me. And I will just say this, and this isn't like, I'm not breaking any news here on this one either. If the Chicago Bears go out there and they get trucked and they give up over 30-plus points, watch out on all this stuff. Because, man, at some point, we've been really counting on this defense to hold the water for this team. And this can be a dangerous week for them if the offense does not show up. If they do not have a strong first half, if they still cannot run the football, if it is just all Caleb all the time at a point in his career when he's not ready to be that all-the-time guy, they got to be really, really, really careful in this game. And the Chicago Bears need this one. They really do. They need it. I get it. Moving forward, the Carolina game is still a winnable game. The Jacksonville Jaguars game all of a sudden is looking like an incredibly, incredibly winnable game. And then you have the bye week, and then you come back for Washington. Washington scores points, but right now their defense is awful. So this is all lined up for Caleb over the next 4 weeks or so to really kind of, I don't know about reach the highest heights of our imagination, but I think to make enough progress where he does get that feel for it and starts giving us a little bit more of a baseline of what to expect from Caleb Williams in his rookie year. I think the first 3 games have been really rough. I've told you since the beginning of the season it's going to be a little Jekyll and Hyde, a little up and down, peaks and valleys. I do believe that we are getting close to a Caleb Williams peak period, possibly starting this week against the Rams and then moving forward in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I asked everyone to give this about a month. This Rams game is game 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That turns into a month. I do want to see some signs here that it does turn around, and I think Caleb can play well. But I'm hedging my bets a little bit. Forgive me. I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little scared. And a lot of the fun that was created in the offseason has been sucked out a little bit. So I'm going to go 20-17. I think the Chicago Bears win. I think it's going to be close. And I do think that they pick up a victory here and hopefully move to 2-2. And if they can, then all of a sudden, you get a 3-game stretch. You get an opportunity moving forward over the next month to get back into this race a little bit, take care of your own problems while you're winning games, and hopefully, maybe just hopefully, over the next 2-3 weeks, they start to solve some of these problems and some of the cohesion comes together a little bit. Before we get out of here on WLS AM 890, you're listening to Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos. You are about to tune into Illinois football action taking on Penn State. Wow, oh wow. What a start for Illinois so far this year. They're 4-0. They're heading into this game against Penn State, a 19-point underdog. Some places it's 17.5 points. And, man, I got to tell you, that number seems insane to me because I love what I've seen from the Illini so far this season. Luke Altmaier, man, has he been crisp, he's been clean, and, man, has he been impressive. Outdueled Dylan Raiola of Nebraska last week. And Luke Altmaier, who at times struggled with interceptions, has done a really great job of playing clean football. He has thrown 10 touchdowns to 0 interceptions through his first 4 games. Fun stat, he is only the 3rd quarterback in the Big Ten to do that in the last 23 years or since 2001. Chicago Bears fans, can you guess who the other 2 quarterbacks are? Ding, 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 ding. Time's up. Justin Fields and Kyle Orton. What company? Welcome, Luke Altmaier. And that's going to be the key to the game, right? Is that Luke Altmaier last year, he threw 4 picks and looked terrible against Penn State. He needs to show him, just like they showed Nebraska last week, that he is a completely different quarterback. He's got Pat Bryant, who's off to a great start, 309 yards through 4 games. He's got 6 touchdowns already through 4 games. Zachary Franklin, hasn't found the end zone. I think he'd be a great X factor to find the end zone in this game. But I think the key for the Illini in this one is 4 horsemen in that backfield. Khalil Valentine, Caden Fagan, Josh McCray, Aiden Lafferty. They're all averaging over 4.5 yards per carry. And what we saw last week with Nebraska, who honestly, they have a very talented front 7. It wasn't explosive per se, but man, they really grinded them down. They just kept throwing different looks, different players, some of them with size, some of them with speed, and just kept punishing that front 7 over and over again. And Altmaier made the right plays and the right throws in the right moments, and they were able to get points on the board. So much so that Caden Fagan barely went touched. He went untouched almost all the way down there in that overtime score in the end zone. So I like the Illini's offense. I really do. A lot of people, now look, I think the rush defense for Penn State is definitely very solid. Don't get me wrong. But again, as we sometimes see, when teams play in these non-conference games, when there's a step up in competition, they can get punched in the mouth a little bit and put on their heels. The Illini have that type of offense to do that. On the other side of the ball, I can't wait for this matchup. Man, Drew Aller checked down Charlie last season. All of a sudden now, in Andy Colton-Nicky's offense, which has been a great addition to the Penn State offensive scheme, Drew Aller now completing a solid 70% of his passes. He's spreading the ball around. He's getting the ball to his tight end, Tyler Warren. The wide receiver thing has been a little mixed. The explosive plays have been better from Penn State than they have been in the past. And they got Nick Singleton in the backfield. He is a legit dude. This is going to be a great test for the Illini. But, man, I really can't wait to see. We did it last week, right? Illini secondary, turnover heavy, that plus turnover margin in that 8-9 area right now. I can't wait to see Torrey Cox Jr. and Xavier Scott out there trying to guard these wide receivers and trying to confuse Drew Aller and see if they can get him to confuse him and see if they can get him to make a mistake. I think this is a huge game. I think this is way closer than people think. I think this spread is ridiculous and honestly disrespectful towards the Illini. 17.5 points. Holy cow. I mean, I get it. Penn State's offense looks better, but that was their issue last year. Are we really just assuming that one of the most talented secondaries in the Big Ten right now, in the Illini, in Illinois, is going to get shredded by Drew Aller? I personally really don't see it. Who is their X factor at wide receiver? I mean, 1 week it's Harrison Wallace. They haven't really gotten anything from Fleming. I mean, I get it. They're going to run the football. Sure. Okay. They're going to have to step up there. But if they run the football, man, that spread, that is an easy cover for the Illini right now. I'll tell you that much. Do I think they win the game? Man, it is going to be close. They're going to have to play near perfect football, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go there right now. But I do think in this game coming up right now, Illinois puts a huge scare into Penn State. And for those interested and inclined, I definitely think the margin of score here is definitely going to be within 17.5 points. And if Illinois wins this game, how high is the ceiling, guys? The CFP is 12 now. They beat number 9 ranked Penn State. Man, you are on the fringes right there of playoff competition, playoff contention for Illinois. Good for you. We'll see what happens. I think they're going to play well. They may fall up short. This is a tough matchup. This is in Happy Valley. But I do like this offense, and I love this secondary for the Illini. So we are going to see what happens. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Joey Christopoulos. You've been listening to Sports Talk Chicago right here in WLS AM 890. We're rolling a little early this week because of the game that's coming up, but make sure you tune in next week We're here every single Saturday from 8 to 9 talking Chicago Bears, everything Chicago sports. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the listen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week, and enjoy your Saturday.